Welcome back to Narratives in Black. I'm your host, Amanda Shea, and in part one, we heard how Kenny has been shaping Boston's creative and community spaces, from youth programs to the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. In this second part, we talk about leadership that lasts, the intersections of art and policy, and how Kenny continues to plant seeds literally and figuratively for Boston's cultural future. Here's part two with Kenny Mascary. I love that you wrap that up with the process, because you're right. Like, even though you're not physically here in this iteration of what Earth is, we can still consume folks and still appreciate their art even when they're not here anymore, right? And I think that leaves some kind of like mystery too, right? As artists, we don't always have to show all of everything of ourselves. We can keep certain things to ourselves. With that being said, your role at Now and There focused on connecting communities with public art. What were some of the most like unexpected or transformative impact that you witnessed from these projects? And before you answer, Now and There is now the triennial.
Yep.
So I wanted to like name that too, which congratulations for them for revamping and the relaunch. I'm pretty sure you went to that as well.
Yes, I was there actually before this interview today. They had an opening at Mass Art for one of their projects, and it was beautiful.
Love that. I was supposed to be there, but I was here, but we ain't gonna talk about it. What was the most impactful project that you worked on with them prior to their relaunch?
One of the most impactful projects that I've done, Breeze's Laundromat.
Ooh,
on Blue Hill Ave.
Yes. Tell the people about that, because
So-
I know what you're referencing.
I had the opportunity to work with Susan Thompson. I had the opportunity to work with, I believe, Lamerchi.
Yeah, Fraser.
Fraser.
Yep. Susan's from the Equity and Inclusion.
No, not that Susan. Like
Okay.
an artist, Susan Thompson, and I can believe I'm blanking on her bestie's name, because they do a lot of work together, and we're also, the three of us are luminaries this year at the Gardner.
Oh, yes, the Isabella Gardner Museum.
Yes.
I am going to ask you about that in a
Yep.
little bit. Yes, so congratulations
So
on
that project, which also included Paul Goodnight.
Yes.
So that project was where we were looking at legendary Boston artists who are fine painters who have never had the opportunity to experiment in the public art domain, and either because of education, access, resources, and investment. So this project was one where, and this was the first time that these artists were able to see their art at a mural scale. So that was one of the first projects where going down Blue Hill Ave, meeting the owner of Breezes, working with the abutters and letting them know who we are, and in terms of Now and There, and what we were aiming to do at the time, which is, site-specific temporary public art in the Boston that open mind spaces and conversations around representation and access. And the conversations that I was having with these artistic pillars from Boston, that one, I didn't know about, and two, that were thanking me for the opportunity to see their art at a scale that they didn't think was possible, was what was the most rewarding project that I've ever been a part of during my time at Now and There, which is now the triennial. And it was supposed to be a temporary project. And if you drive by Breeze's Laundromat, you will still see one of the murals that is installed on a vinyl piece. So again, with material. So it was really a artistic, scientific design project that I got to do the engagement around, but also just make sure that the artists felt connected and that what they wanted to share with the community was what the product itself was conveying.
The fact that you said connection, and it sounds super transformative, right? Because that's the power of art and being able to have those opportunities, especially somebody like Paul Goodnight, legend in Boston. And also, like, when we talk, you said earlier, you spoke about intergeneration. And it's like, that's something that you're in the midst of and in the middle of too, because Paul Goodnight supersedes our
Absolutely.
era. So to be able to bring this new form or access of this type of art to somebody of his stature and his legacy is truly impactful.
Yeah.
I
And
know that will stay with you forever.
And that was the goal of the project too, because there was a mentorship aspect where Paul and there are a few other artists that, you know, we took the legends and we introduced them to people who are inspired by them, who have dreamed of working with them. And again, like we were able to take their work at that scale and trust that this young person, this whippersnapper who's gonna tell you, Mr. Goodnight, what your work should look like at a scale. So there was a certain element of trust that, you know, I had to get them to trust in us in the project, but also make sure that the trust that they were building while they were working together. And for me, when art and community is at the center of it, it's easy to make sure that that translation and that connection remains.
Absolutely.
So that's why for me, the impact not only is still resonating for me today, but every time I see Susan and Paul and Lamerchi and you know, out in the world, it's a reminder of like, how I'm connected to them. And, you know, I told them that like, they are my living ancestors and I want them to know that the work that I'm doing is to continue, you know, the legacy that they've offered us the opportunity to witness and celebrate, and it should not end solely by their own work, but that there are other people that want to carry the torch. And this project, again, still relevant today, and now seeing the Boston Art Triennial that is doing a citywide public art festival that is happening every 3 years that I've gotten to see grow, and then I get to support currently in my role in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. Is almost a full circle moment.
It is, it's not almost, it is a full circle moment. The Triennial has like a special place in my heart because I do remember the shift of now and there. And shout out to Marguerite and shout out to Kate.
Yes.
They have definitely brought me into their community and into that space, and even had the honor of doing their commercial for the Triennial, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But to put spoken word poetry as the face of this relaunch was just an honor. And I also am gonna steal that from you, the living ancestors, because I be saying living legends, but I like living ancestors better. You talk about art and, you know, sculptures and paintings, and we talked about sports being like the connector of community, but obviously so is music, right? And music has the power to bring people together in such a beautiful way, in an emotional way. How, as a DJ, do you create those spaces, and how does like DJing allow you to connect communities in ways that your other roles don't?
Yeah. Oh man, DJing is one of, you know, the art forms that has had many lives already since, you know, from funk and disco to now hip hop, which are, you know, prominence of DJ culture and one of the elements of hip hop. But the music has always had the power to communicate the things that we can't do with our words. You know, there are people like you who just see words and connect them and make paintings out of them that others like us can't.
Appreciate you. You could if you put some effort in.
You're right. You're right. However, the music itself allows us to still convey and communicate in a way that maybe the way that my vocal cords would articulate those, but that a guitar string or the beat of a drum taps into emotional aspects that words that I can probably pick would not convey solely on their own. So for me, even today at the Triennial opening, there were folks speaking, and there was a moment when there was a native artist, Native American artist, who is traveling here specifically to bless Boston with their presence in the exhibit in the ancestral land of the Massachusetts people. But the moment that they started playing their music, there was a shift in the room that you could literally hear what I felt like was everyone's heartbeat. And there was a banging of the drum that wasn't started at the beginning of the performance, and halfway through you can just hear the boom, boom, boom. I don't think that there are words that I could have put down on a piece of paper that could have communicate what we experience. And the portal for our ancestors, and I reference again like this indigenous guide spirit person whose peoples have always been here, was able to make the space welcoming and invite the spirit of their ancestors and ours and those of us who are present in that moment through music. Sinners did that too. There was a scene.
Okay, no, because I have not seen it yet. And
That
every
sounds
black
like
person,
a personal choice.
No.
The movie's been out a month.
Listen,
It's gonna be on DVD next week.
Okay, that's great, and I could probably watch it then. Okay, listen, black people, y'all gotta stop, because every time I say I have not seen it yet, it's almost like I said I don't know how to play spades.
Are you trying?
No, but I do know how to play spades. Okay, but I do, but I don't, because I be betting too much books.
Yep.
Okay, but whatever, but I still know the rules of the game. I know the rules of engagement, okay? I haven't seen Sinners yet, but don't spoil nothing, so I don't want to know nothing about no scenes. Not to cut your story short.
Cool.
Okay.
Forget Sinners.
We're gonna forget
Music.
Sinners.
Music
We're just gonna
is
go
the
back
portal.
to
Yes.
Right.
Music
Okay.
is the portal.
I was like, wait.
It's a July.
You know what? Okay, but like nobody wants to take me. So I'm supposed to just go see it myself? Okay, cool, got you. With that being said, I have a song, and the song keeps happening, and it's like 7 people in my band for BAMS Fest, and they keep telling me, they're like, yo, this song would be so dope for Sinners. You know that dance scene when they're, and I'm like, y'all gotta stop talking about this movie. But I'm gonna go see it, because I heard it was absolutely phenomenal.
I will hold you through that.
Would you? Okay, cool. Y'all heard it here first. All right. As we named earlier in your bio, that you were the chief of staff of the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, but actually you've been promoted to chief of arts and culture in the Mayor's office. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'll never forget when I found out, but that's a story for another podcast.
Wait, because I feel like there's 2 stories in that. Are you talking about
Your story.
My story?
Yes. Yes.
No, you can tell them. No, you don't gotta tell them. You ain't gotta tell them. You ain't gotta tell them. We ain't gonna talk about it, but didn't I tell you? I told you.
It was like, you wasn't gonna tell me? I said, tell you what? I have nothing to tell you. She's like, well, I heard. And I was like, let me find out, and then I will tell you. But yes.
But I was right the whole time.
You were right the whole time.
I knew it was gonna be you.
You know, it's...
If not you, then who?
I think that I am what Boston should think about when they think about Black artists currently today. I think that I navigate the role of being chief really well inside City Hall, but I think more importantly, I'm outside.
You really are. I was just gonna say, you're definitely outside.
I'm still a performing, practicing, engaged, and connecting artist, and I think the reason why I think it was so easy for you to see me in this role is because I've been moving and acting as if I was already in this role. So It just took them a minute to catch up. And
Boston
see
be
what
slow
was happening.
sometimes, you know what I mean?
You know, so yes, I've had the privilege of learning from the former chief, Cara Elliott Ortega, who, again, when you think about people who see things in you before you see them, Cara is one of these folks. And I remember the day that she was like, I'm probably not gonna be in this job forever. And I know that you can do this job. And I want you to know that as long as we stay connected, you can do this job and you will be able to do it, and you'll always have an ally in me. So it's been a great time so far. And the days that it's not going well, I go to bed, I sleep, I wake up the next day, and I'm like, guess what? I get to do it again. So it's the best job I've ever had.
I've also never heard you complain about anything, really, now that I'm thinking about it.
It's the best job I've ever had. I get to support my friends and my community to have access to create art and make a living out of their creative talent, which we just talked about is an innate right that you have to be creative. What's to complain about?
Nothing.
Some days I work long hours.
Yeah.
Some days you have to send a few emails and remind folks of why you do what you do.
Yeah.
But that's not enough for me to really complain about the privilege that it is to make a living out of your creative work.
You all have like a really good team. Shout out to Billy Dean Thomas.
Yes.
Love Billy Dean Thomas. I love Tom Johnson.
Tom is a legend.
Tom is a legend. And also, these are also, to name for folks that don't know, these are people who are also artists too.
Yep.
Tom has been in bands,
Yep. Band
has
manager,
traveled, toured.
Yep.
Billy Dean is one of the best rappers, MCs, musicians in the city. I said what I said and I say it again.
Stand behind it.
Like,
Stamp.
Billy Dean is crazy good.
Yep.
I think for me, like, knowing that you're in this role, one, I'm very, very pleased that you got this and that you're here. At the same time, it makes me wonder, what do Bostonians and how do Bostonians feel about a non-Bostonian being in this role? Because Cara, respectfully, wasn't from Boston either. Billy Dean is not from Boston either. A lot of us in these prominent positions are not from here, but yet the baton is passed.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you faced in this position?
Yeah, and I think that is a very Boston thing to really say that, in order for you to be valid or for you to be considered is that you have to be here. And there are advantages to having community relations and having, and not just using an opportunity only for your sole purpose and making sure that that you are building your career and your craft on the back of people who probably don't have that opportunity. But when we think about, this city that is a majority minority city, which means that, and again, like Boston is the only city in this country where there are 10 other predominant cultures that make up the city of Boston.
Absolutely.
So not technically and realistically and historically, everyone who's made anything here in Boston comes or has roots somewhere else.
Right.
And Boston is a very transient city. People come here. I say, if you're not from Boston, you give Boston a good 4 to 8 years of your life.
Yeah.
And then either it keeps you here or you take your tools and what you've learned and you go elsewhere to be great. And I wrestle with how transient Boston can be as a city, but I also recognize, and shout out to Dart Adams for saying that in 1952, Dr. King, Coretta Scott, and Malcolm X all three of them were in Roxbury, Massachusetts for a period of 6 to 8 months where all three were here, and that wasn't by accident.
No.
So historically, in a lot of different industries, academia, arts, performing arts, when you think about it, but also in civil rights, Boston has always been a non-negotiable stop or a city that we know if we don't have, and again, as a city of innovation, a lot of things start here and then take fire elsewhere. So for me, being from Boston or not from Boston, I think that doesn't dilute what you have to offer. I think what's important is that you understand the historical context of what you're coming into, and that historical context and the people who fight to remain relevant and part of that conversation are gonna be here after you remain. So the same people, the Paul Goodnights have been here before Kara, will be here after Kara, will be here after me, and their impact and the generation and that last name and what they've done for the city will continue to permeate all the arts sector conversations that we're involved in. So I think it's something that when we think also about Boston being a global city, that means that, you know, people are going to be attracted to what we're doing here. And I think what we do really well is that we make Boston a home for all, and that you can come here and become the best version of yourself.
Yes.
It's up to you now whether you want to share that best version with us for an extended period of time, or that you take it back to your community, wherever you came from, wherever it calls you. And that's a conversation that you can have with yourself.
That part.
But for us, we're always open and welcoming to anyone who wants to make Boston home.
I love that you said that, because also even just naming the academic institutions, I mean, James Baldwin, Cornell West, even down to like Lupe Fiasco being at MIT is, if you think about it, the history is so enriched here, where you have people that are coming all over the world, even for a short period of time. And I think you landed it perfectly with the 4 to 8 years. I'm looking at your journey and I'm like, well, you've been here for 11 years and you've accomplished so much if you think about it. 21 years. Excuse me. Whoa, my math was way off.
You didn't carry over.
I didn't carry over the two, really. But 21 years in Boston, I mean, at this point, it's almost half your life. If not half your life.
I've lived in Boston longer than anywhere
else. That's what I tell people. I tell people I am the most Bostonian, non-Bostonian ever. And I think I stole that from Janae Alsterhout, who says, I am a Bostonian who's a non-Boston. Like, I'm the non-Bostonian Bostonian. And that's exactly how I feel for being here for the last 18 years. It is now the longest place that I've lived in my entire life. And I think by year 8, when I was finished with my educational, degree, I was like, well, do I stay here or do I go? But it's like, how do you leave somewhere that gave you so much and it helps you find this sense of self? And also, you love the community. Like, there is so much work to do here that it's kind of hard to leave and say that you finished.
It's never done. It's never done.
It's continuous.
Actually, and I think finding other people who believe in what Boston has to offer as a city, how the community could be even more connected, and finding people who are saying, hey, I would like to take that journey with you, I think is a new source of encouragement to continue doing this work beyond the window that we all think about. Is this it? Should I go somewhere else, or am I really gonna sign another lease? But I think those of us who don't leave make space for others to come. And I think Boston has become much more prominent on the radar of other Black folk, of other brown people of color who maybe was just like, I don't know about Boston.
There's no Black people there. No, we outside.
We're here. They hear about Amanda Shea. They've seen about the artists when The Embrace came about. They will learn about the Paul Goodnights and all the other, and BAMS Fest that for 10 years has brought, again, elite, star-studded, free and open to the public in Franklin Park every year to make sure that Black Boston has access to arts and culture the same way that other cities do. So again, like it's never going to be done, and all we can do is continue growing our network of people who want to take on that journey with us.
This isn't a question that was in the brief, but I'm kind of curious. What do you think about folks? You know, we talked about Boston and not being from here, but it just made me think of like Tanisha Nashlard, who with the Roxbury Cultural Center on Blue Hill Ave, and I'm thinking, you know, no shade to the Bostonians that are from here, but what do you think it is as far as folks who come from other spaces and are able to cultivate community in ways to not only gain opportunities in ways that Bostonians feel like they might have not have had? Like, what gives a Kenny, the chief of Mayor's Arts and Culture, who's not from here, besides somebody who's may have lived here forever? Or the Amanda Shays, why are you being able to do the things that you're doing and you're not from here? I have my own perspective, and I'm gonna share it with you before I ask for your answer. And I feel like sometimes when you're inside of something for so long, you don't see outside of it or the ways in which that you can navigate it. And I think when you come from somewhere else, you kind of look at the landscape different because you're not so personally invested until you become personally invested in it. So you are able to navigate in ways or see silos that you're like, nah, I can break down those barriers quick, or I can throw something over here where I can invite all these people, or I can make this intergenerational. You know, I think sometimes when you are in a space and you see all of the challenges, you're not able to see the optimistic side of that.
I think that's very valid. You know, there is something about putting your head down and working, and you miss a lot of what's happening, not just in changes, but in opportunities. I also think that we are so accustomed to things being taken away from us that we fail to realize that the only way that there will be more opportunities is when the few of us that are at the table opens the door and say, no, 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 no. It's not just Amanda. Emmanuel's also performing. Nate Speaks is also here. So you've opened up doors for people to, again, you might be the person who is hosting the show, but you are creating a platform for other people to walk through those doors. Now it's up to you, once you receive the call from Amanda to say, come on the show, to say yes or no. But the opportunities are there. And a lot of times when we shut a door, by the time you find a key that opens the other one, you get jaded, you get tired. The opportunities look differently because again, like they're not, if they were so accessible, we wouldn't be in this issue. So, you know, the language changes,
the landscape changes,
the platform changes. So again, like it's, if you're not in by, you know, any means necessary, that you become shut out of things, and then you're on the outside looking in, and then you just see less and less falling through the cracks that you're like, man, shout out to Amanda, she's doing this again. It was like, well, there's only so many of us that have the opportunity to say, hey, 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 come here with us. So one part of the work is continuing to open those doors for others. And anyone who also feels like something was taken away from them, we hear you. I will also say then you're also putting us in a position to say, as if we didn't do the work or work as hard to also assume those responsibilities. So I think once we're able to move past what we can do, not what we've been able to do, because what we've been able to do has gotten us here and it's not going to get us to where we want to go. And I don't want to engage in how come I didn't. I would rather, therefore, than how do we do this to make sure that more of us can have the opportunity.
I love that response, and that's so true. I think that, you know, talking to a lot of creatives here in the city, it's more so like, I really believe in what you put in is what you get. And I believe in universal law. So if you do the work, the more work is gonna inevitably come and reach you, right? But also reaching back and creating opportunities for everyone. This is not just a self-serving situation. You're not in this position just to be self-serving. You named that earlier. You're in this position because you can also see in the ways in which it serves others outside of yourself. And I think that's really important. You're one of the main people that I see doing that and taking advantage of that, and I think that's really beautiful. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think that not only in your own artistic endeavors, but even in this position, you haven't allowed it to supersede or give you an ego or change you or shift the ways in which that you navigate with people. In fact, I feel like nothing has changed.
It's
It was
only
just
made
a
me
title.
better.
It was just
Yeah.
it was just a title
Yeah.
change, but nothing has changed you as a person. And because of that, I want to ask, like, looking ahead, like, what legacy do you hope to leave in Boston arts and culture scene? I mean, just like Kara said to you, you might not be in this position forever and may not want to be, right?
Yep.
What are you looking to leave when you leave this space?
I think some of it I'm already experiencing, and it's when I hear from people who are Boston born and raised say, I am so happy that you're in this role. Or I'm hearing, yo, Boston was not like this 5 years ago,
Right.
10 years ago. Thank you. So I think the legacy that I hope to leave, I'm lucky that I'm already seeing fruits of that labor. But it's only going to really be sustained when we all come together and share the same vision of what Boston could be as a creative city. A colleague in mine, Joseph, in the office, who's not from Boston, but he gave me what I think is something that I've repeated over and over once I heard it, is like Boston is the design capital of the world. We make things happen here that other people are like, oh, copy, paste. First public school, first public library, first public transportation, first public park, like so many firsts. We have the most sneaker companies headquartered
Sure do.
here than anywhere else. We
Sure
have
do.
more institutions, like capital I institutions in academia and arts and all of those
Hospitals,
here,
medical.
here than anywhere else. So I think the identity of Boston as a city of public first, as a city of innovation, and again, like the design capital of America, if not to say the world. I'll do more research and then I'll be able to say whether we can claim that.
Spoken
But
like a true air sign.
In pencil for now. But I think that's the legacy that I would like to continue building, is how people perceive Boston creative sector, to recognize that historically we've been doing this.
Period.
And that our history is only getting longer and more into the future, future history. I don't know if that makes sense.
Future forward, yeah, future forward.
Future forward, that like we're only continuing the work that's only been happening. So that's what I am grateful for in this role that I'm able to do. I'm able to promote the city and my amazing creative friends and all the things that not only we're doing, but that we continue our asking to see happen. So that's the legacy, and we're living it. You're a testament of it.
Thank you.
And I'm definitely one of the beneficiaries also of that work. And I know that there are people who are going to watch this. There are people who have connected with us both personally and professionally, who are grateful for that work. So to me, that's the legacy of the work that I've been doing, is that Boston has been on the map. We're just keeping it there.
Before I ask you your last question, because I could literally sit here and talk to you.
It's not going to be the last one.
It's not. Okay, so if you could design a dream project without constraints of time, funding, resources, what would it look like, and who would it, well, I kind of want to say who would it impact, but I'm going to say everybody for you. But what would that look like, and what would you want to do?
I would love to have a building for artists. And that includes housing, that includes co-working space.
Yes,
That
please.
includes space for you to present your work,
Yes,
for you to
please.
manufacture your work, for you to connect, for you to hang out, and a space where artists get to connect and sharpen each other's swords and tools to do the work that they're doing. Just the building. Just give me a
What
building.
if I told you that the person that you saw in here that got interviewed last?
Yep.
Just a quiet.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just
Yep.
a little.
That's
Okay.
if I could, I
All
would
right.
make sure that we have the space. And if we already have one, we need two. We
Okay.
need three. We need four.
That brings me to artist certification because that's also out of your office, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. What was the name change for? Do you even know what that was about? Because it went from artist certification to now artist housing. Why do you think that it got changed as far as language? And maybe you don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know, but one thing that I can say is we have to solve the housing crisis, period.
Yes.
And artists need housing the same way that teachers need housing, the same way that nurses need housing, the same way that or first responders, the same way that young people. So for me, artist housing is one of the spokes that we have to address as a city, but I think housing as a whole is a general need. In terms of the name change and the legalese behind it, I don't have the full scope of it, but I will say that for us, the only way that we can solve the artist housing issue is just by solving the issue of housing, period.
Would you ever run for mayor?
No, not yet, not today.
Okay, that was very quick.
No.
Because the way that you said that, it was giving politician.
Yeah, and I think that's, if there's anything that people ask me, what is the one thing about this role that I'm still learning is the politics side of it, because I'm not a politician. But because I'm so community driven and oriented, there's a symbiotic relationship into
Absolutely.
who I advocate for and what the role calls for. But I am not the person that likes to stand in the front to talk about it. So that's why my answer was definitely no. But I am very committed to supporting the current mayor, the current administration, and people who are pushing the boundaries of what has already been done and really pushing for what's possible.
It's still a very politician type answer.
Still work in politics, but
No,
I'm not a
I love
politician.
it. It said, but I support our current administration. I love how you put that. That's so honest. I just want to say from a perspective of someone who's looking, and also before I even say that, you seem like a very outgoing person, but you're very introverted too. So I feel like you like your privacy and you also like to remain a very low profile and pop out when you want to be seen and not necessarily just to be seen. So I like that. What I will say is, before I ask the very last question, because this will be the last question, from somebody on the outside looking in, just knowing you in community, doing events with you, being even just, I know you gonna get this when I see you, type energy. One thing that I absolutely admire and love about you is your bravery to speak up and always say your truth. But I also love the fact that, and I don't like this word so much because I think that we use it as a people wrong, but you're very humble. You're not braggadocious. You don't come off with ego-driven, ideologies or attitude or arrogance, if you will. I love the way that you move in your authenticity. You're definitely for the people. I never get this air of arrogance from you. You seem like you're always a student of the game and that there's this humbleness about you, that you're approachable. And I think that's what I admire the most from you, is that anybody at any point in time, if and when they see you, they can come up to you and speak to you and have a conversation.
Yes.
No matter what it's about. It could be about music, it could be about your title, it could be about your role in the city, but it also can be very personal about you. You're very honest and you're very transparent. It's almost like you're an open book.
I try to be.
No, I don't think you try. I think you
try to
are.
be.
I think you are. I mean, certain things respectfully
Right,
you
right.
probably keep,
Right.
tucked. But at the same time, for the most part, anything that I've ever asked you, you've always answered with honesty. And I think that's really beautiful. You always show up to spaces. You said even earlier in this conversation that you're like, I get to support my friends in my community. Like, what is there to complain about? And that really is who you are, not just on this couch, but outside of here and when you go home. I think that another thing that I really admire about you just in conversation is your commitment to young voices and young people. You know, that is super important. I think a lot of the times adults forget that young people are people and sometimes dismiss them, or a lot of the times dismiss them and don't realize how smart and the sponges that they are, and the ideas that they have and the creativity that they bring to the table. I think they're just as important as grown folk. And another thing that I really admire about you is that even though you're working in the mayor's arts and culture office, which for some people on the outside that don't understand politics, you make it fun to learn about politics and comfortable to talk about that. So I just want to give you your flowers in real time.
Thank you.
Because outside of just, you know, the title role there, as a DJ, as a cultivator, as a community member, as a teacher, as just a Black Haitian man, you exemplify what it means to be rooted in self, grounded in self, and always speak from your authenticity. And I love that about you. So I just want to say thank you. I'm honored that you would even sit on this couch, well, really in this chair, with me to have this conversation, because it's personal. We're talking about your life, we're talking about your family, and we're talking about your journey. And as much as we see the resume, it's really more like about you and the fact that you just opened up and shared this with the audience and us here today. I'm just forever indebted to you. So thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. I was humbled to receive it, and I was like, wait, what? Me? And then I've seen clips of who else has sat on this chair. So I was like, oh, wow. Like, I'm glad that I get to be seen along, you know, the Cat Morrises, along, you know.
Michael Bobbitt.
Yes.
Giselle Bird.
Yes.
Ife Franklin. Ariel Gray.
You know,
Tanisha.
season 1 is currently on YouTube. Season 2 is coming out soon, so stay connected.
I love how you did that drop in the middle of doing the drop.
Come on. But for me, I will say I am hoping that I'm making proud the younger version of me who was not as outspoken, who was not at all creative outwardly, and who was only kind of like yearning for community of creatives, was yearning for an avenue to pour into it. And my parents, God bless them, didn't understand how to cultivate that in me. And I'm forever indebted to, again, the young people who do that naturally. And in order for me to satisfy the young person who was in me, I had to tap into the curiosity of youthful energy and curiosity, which is why I'm constantly learning. I love to learn. I love picking up new skills. And that's because the young person in me who wanted to do that didn't get to. And I'm glad I'm doing that for me now, and I'm doing it for young people who didn't know that it was possible. Specifically as Haitian American who, you know, has a different experience of growing up, whose accent every now and again comes out and you become self-conscious, who has been told you dress differently, you look differently, you talk differently. All these things are things that I wanted to explore and tap into when I was younger, but I didn't feel invited to do so. I didn't feel seen at the time, and I hope that when people see us, that is the reminder that you can be the best version of yourself, even if it's imperfect. There are people like us who are constantly trying, and what they don't see, like I said, are the first drafts, the second draft of things that didn't come to fruition, but we just keep trying. And I think young people embody that spirit of resiliency. My Haitian people are a constant reminder of what it's like to celebrate every bit of joy that you can find in the midst of what can be seen as a miserable circumstance or a miserable hand of cards that you were dealt. But it's up to us to tell our story and not let our circumstances define us. And we owe it to ourselves to make sure that other people see that in us in order for them to believe that in themselves.
And just like that, y'all, we wrapping up with Narratives in Black with Kenny Mascary. You know, I want to thank you again for being on the show. I was going to ask you for a finishing line, but I feel like that message is what conveys the process is the journey and the journey is the process. Thank you so much for being on Narratives in Black.
Thank you. And then the great words of Octavia Butler, everything you touch changes, everything you change changes you, and change is the only constant in life worth pursuing.
Thank you.
Thank you.